Good morning, noon, evening or night, depending when you're watching this video. My name is Legend and welcome back to World of Tanks and the Stronk Strongholds series. Although is ain't Strongholds, this is Advances. Should I then call it like Analysing Advances? New series? I don't know. Because we in the NBTT clan are now also dabbling in Advances from time to time, ever since, well, 1.5 years ago or something. We have enough active members to occasionally do an Advances. This is one of the first we did in like, we did some before, like years and years ago, but only like a few, and now we are back into it a little bit more, although not that much because we are nothing like the most active competitive clan. But right now we are facing off against quite an large opposing force on this side of cliff. So the best thing to do is to fall back a little bit. They have more forces seemingly here, and we have to lure them towards us so that we can shoot them first before they have enough gun depression to take some return shots. It's quite chaotic, and we do lack a bit of focus firing, although there we go a little bit better focus firing. But I make a huge mistake here by trying to get the kill on that object 140. Should have stayed down, should have waited until one enemy is making their move, trying to shut me down, so I can get at least one more shot off. But the odds are quite even though it was seemingly, well, a lost cause, at least on the valley side. But the last few tanks of our team are keeping up quite well, taking pot shots when it actually is safe to do that. And although things on the mountain side are also a bit tricky, a great push of Marshok and Henk on the STB1 gives them the advantage. A great decision, because otherwise they had to face off against two STBs for a longer period of time. But now the enemies are trying to make their move on the valley side right here, trying to shut down the last few tanks of our team as quickly as possible. And although they succeed at it, shutting everybody down the side, luckily 140 is still alive in the upper flank. But, well, that was quite a bit of dabbling. But before we get a closer analysis in there, because we really need one, we have to first watch how this battle concludes. Because are these going to win? Because Henk is still full hit points and is now trying to shut down the enemy 277 by ramming him. Now it's only the Manticore and artillery left. Manticore, of course, going for our artillery. Fortunately, Waffle isn't quite able to shut him down in time, or the second time. But luckily, we still have Henk on the case. But unfortunately, Waffle didn't move on time and gets shut down by the artillery. So it's now Henk left against that artillery. And even though this should be a clear win, Henk is somewhat fooling around for a bit, auto-aiming at the artillery, but when he gets despotted, he fires when his auto-aim is off, and his aiming was located a little bit to the right, so a bit of a of a noob mistake right there. If you do auto-aim, at least aim at the tank itself, except for this reason, if they get despotted. The second shot is only tracking the artillery, and now we are getting a little bit nervous if Henk is actually capable enough to win a 1v1 against an artillery in his IS-7, but of course it's still an RT. It has a long ass reload, he misses, and like the object 277, Henk also rams the GWE100. And that's still a victory, but quite a close victory. But in the end, I think this is a good battle for a clan that is just getting back into the whole advanced game mode. So to make this episode not as short as the previous one, where we showed two of the quickest strongholds ever, I want to take a quick look at that first engagement down the valley. because it seems that we did some things good, but also did some things wrong. So at this point we see when the enemies are approaching us, we are with 9 tanks at this flank, while the enemy is marching along with 10 tanks, which is only 1 more, but well, in these kind of numbers, when one is better at focus firing, the battle can be quickly decided. So we actually do a very good thing on falling a little bit back in order to avoid getting shot at. Even though high ground may be better, the low grounds are actually better in a more defensive position, because in order to get shots off, the enemies need to press the ridge further in order for their gun depression to hit us. Especially these Soviet tanks must expose a lot of their tank in order to get a penetrating hit on us. So it's very good to stay downside, and then I make that unfortunate mistake. And it's funny how the tanks that are located the highest up the ridge of our team are the ones that died first. So it really shows that the lower you stay, the more defensive you are, and the more advantage you have in this kind of defensive position. So it's good that we took this defensive position, not that we have had a lot of choice, because they were approaching this certain position, this high ground, way faster, because we are approaching from the low ground. That was our disadvantage, but we turned it around by staying low, staying defensive, and getting off some good trades. Although it could be better if more of us, including myself, would stay downside and actually wait when the enemies are exposing themselves over the ridge. Like I said before, that way I still would have been able to get 1 shot off before I was actually killed, instead of really trying to get a kill but wasn't able to reload on time before I got killed myself. So on the side of the hill, there's nothing really remarkable to say. They also needed to be a bit on the defensive side. They were there with 3 tanks. And again, the most aggressive one got taken out by the STB-1s, while the 2 more defensive tanks are, well, biding themselves some time, trading some shots, and getting some support from the EBR eventually. That allows them to actually push a 1-shot out and face the last STB-1 with 2 heavy tanks, instead of facing off 2 STB-1s with 2 heavies. And after that engagement, the enemies had only 3 tanks and the RT left, all of them with a 1-shot, while we still got 1 heavy tank with full HP. And that's also a very important thing to have. Now I notice it, although we are with 1 tank less, having a full HP tank is so valuable to have in the late game. Even though it's still quite a team effort to do strongholds, so that way you want to share your HP. That is the best way to keep as many tanks alive as possible. But when the positioning isn't allowing to do that, it is actually very viable in order to have 1 tank being very passive, very careful on peeking, snapshotting, etc. in order to have that much HP left at the end of the battle. Now I don't really think Hank was consciously trying to do that. I think it was more of the typical solo mentality you see in random battles of I'm just playing for myself, trying to have as much hit points as possible. But I think that most of the times it's better to share hit points, but in this case it was a very good outcome of this battle for Hank to still have that many hit points. So that way he could fool around a bit with the artillery, just playing with his food. So that has been pretty much the analysis for this advance. One of the first advances we have done in years, and with already some very good strategies in there, but also some improvements to make. So I hope you enjoyed this video, like if you learned, and I will see you next time. Laters!